energy efficient and emit fewer pollutants than traditional gasoline-powered cars. Another solution is to encourage the use of shared self-driving cars. By sharing rides, fewer cars will be on the road, which could reduce traffic and emissions. This approach could also provide a more affordable transportation option for people who cannot afford to buy a car. In addition, city planners and policymakers can work to encourage the use of public transportation, walking, and biking. By investing in infrastructure for these modes of transportation, people may be more likely to choose them over driving, which could reduce the number of cars on the road and minimize the impact of self-driving cars. Finally, policymakers can also consider implementing policies to discourage the use of self-driving cars for single-person trips. For example, they could impose a tax on single-person self-driving car trips to encourage people to carpool or use alternative modes of transportation. One solution is to implement smart traffic management systems. By using data analytics and real-time information, traffic can be managed more efficiently, reducing congestion and emissions. For example, traffic lights can be synced to allow for smoother traffic flow and reduce the amount of time cars spend idling at intersections. Another solution is to incorporate renewable energy sources into the charging infrastructure for self-driving cars. Solar panels can be installed at charging stations to generate clean energy, and energy storage systems can be used to store excess energy for later use. It is also important to consider the impacts of manufacturing self-driving cars. The production of these vehicles requires significant amounts of energy and resources, and the disposal of batteries and other components can have negative environmental impacts. To address this, manufacturers can prioritize the use of sustainable materials and implement efficient production processes. Additionally, recycling programs can be established to properly dispose of end-of-life batteries and other components. Finally, it is important to consider the social impacts of self-driving cars on communities. Self-driving cars have the potential to reduce the need for parking spaces, which could free up valuable urban space for parks and other public amenities. However, this could also lead to the displacement of businesses and homes that rely on parking spaces for their operations. Therefore, it is important to involve community stakeholders in the planning and implementation of self-driving car infrastructure to ensure that the benefits are shared equitably. One challenge is the potential increase in energy consumption from the data centers and communication networks required to support self-driving cars. These systems require significant amounts of energy to operate, and their associated emissions could undermine the potential environmental benefits of self-driving cars. To address this, policymakers can encourage the use of renewable energy sources for data centers and communication networks, and invest in energy-efficient technologies. Another challenge is the potential for self-driving cars to exacerbate existing social inequalities. While self-driving cars have the potential to increase accessibility for people with disabilities and those who cannot drive, they could also reinforce existing patterns of inequality. For example, self-driving cars may be more accessible to those who can afford them, leading to further disparities in mobility and access to opportunities. To address this, policymakers can prioritize access to self-driving cars for underserved communities and invest in public transportation options that serve these communities. In addition, it is important to consider the ethical implications of self-driving cars.